What's up everybody, Wilhelm here, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be going over some more Atlas announcements, specifically covering the Captain's Log number 40 that the developers have recently pushed out to us. The first segment they're going to be talking about today is the changes to the developers overview, as well as the second segment, which is going to go over the developers addressing the endgame and the exploits that have been covered over the last few weeks by community. So with all that said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first change that the developers bring up is, quote, unifying the theme is one of the broader arcs within the design team. For example, it is fair to say that we want to edge away from being a high fantasy, WoW with ships type of game. There are lots of great ideas we are playing with, but nothing that we are able to share at this point. As we get closer to defining our ideas, we'll bring them onto the deck for you guys. According to this, it sounds like the developers don't actually have a internal roadmap. They may have like a rough outline of what they would like to do at this point for Atlas, but effectively the way that I'm interpreting this is that we may be looking at a vastly different game than what we have come accustomed to, which could be good, it could be bad, I'm not really sure, we'll have to wait and see. The second change that they outline is that, quote, one of the bigger changes is a new, more optimized system for ships and new ship types. This includes the mechanic of buying certain ships for gold, so we have a little bit more news on that delayed mechanic from a couple weeks ago, so they're still working on this system, as well as, quote, optimizing the system for ships. I'm going to interpret that as the build system, so we may actually see a complete overhaul in the way that the meta has fallen into place in regards to PvP ship builds. The third change outlined is the developers want to emphasize, quote, think of these changes as building blocks. For example, although the farmhouses are indeed a quality of life update, it is just the first step in a longer scheme for a new system. Now we're excited to announce the second step, warehouses. What you can do with the warehouses is you can, quote, connect warehouses to farmhouses to automatically store the resources you gather. How will this system continue to evolve? You'll have to wait and see. So in other words, the warehouses are going to be indeed another prefab whereby you can connect them by some means. I'm going to assume it works somewhat similar to the tax bank, and it may just automatically withdraw the resources that the farmhouses generate into the warehouse, and I'm sure there'll be, weight limits or some sort of limit to it, but this is going to bring up an interesting dynamic in the PvP and PvE iteration of Atlas, because effectively, if I have all of my farmhouses on an island, and nobody else does, and they're all pulling all the resources automatically to my warehouse, that's going to cause quite a bit of tension between the people that also live on the island or farm on the island. So at the moment, I can state from personal experience that all of my farmhouses have actually been kind of a diplomatic token between me and other players, because they're happy that they don't have to, they were happy that they didn't have to place the warehouses down themselves. If the warehouses are automatically pulling the full inventory from the farmhouses automatically 24/7, it's going to cause a lot of tension between the players now, as opposed to before where it was acting more like a public well. So we'll have to see how this actually unfolds, but I can see this being a catalyst for quite a few number of conflicts across the Atlas. With that said, that is going to conclude the changes segment of this news coverage. I'm going to move over into the endgame and exploits section. The first point of interest that is on most of the community's mind is, are the devs going to be removing the experience awarded by the Hardmode Yeti, which has allowed players to boost to max level in one boss fight? And the developers have given us a decision, quote, after careful consideration, we will be leaving it as is for the remainder of Season 4. So, in other words, they're not going to be reducing the experience gained from Hardmode Yeti, which then brings into question, well, why were there 2 player level reductions in the past? So it sounds like they're washing their hands of this particular exploit, and they kind of hint that they're not going to be doing any other enforcement for Season 4. So I don't actually know how I feel about this specifically, because I'm very much in favor of them actually dropping the banhammer on these people and getting rid of these systems, as opposed to just saying we're going to ignore them. But who knows? I don't have an inside view. Maybe they have, bigger fish to fry in the way of development, but it definitely is not something that I am personally happy about. But we'll have to see what they do with the extra time that they're going to be saving by not doing enforcement actions, which is what it sounds like. But we do have a little bit of qualification from them, and they say, quote, "At this time, we currently do not have the resources to properly approach boss encounters and the myriad of issues surrounding the current state of endgame content. However, please know that the adjustments will be made before the next season wipe." So we have confirmation that there will be a season wipe. We don't have a date on this, but it is a statement of intention that they are going to make an attempt to adjust endgame content, which the only endgame content in the game is the Yeti and the Kraken, to my knowledge, and perhaps if you can consider the the Power Stones, so the Hydras and Dragons. Maybe that might be included with it, but at the very least, they've confirmed another season wipe, and that they intend to change or rebalance the rewards and the content itself. And this is going to conclude the Captain's Log 40 Warehouse's teaser and endgame discussion. I have been Wilhelm. Thank you so much for making it to this point in the video. You're a legend, and if you could do me a solid and consider subscribing, liking, and clicking up that notification bell, it would really go a long way to help out the channel and give me a direct line of feedback as to whether or not you would like to see more Atlas news. With the obligatory plug out of the way, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and happy sailing out there on the Atlas.